Hey guys, this is TJ Tijani, and you're listening to the Fearless Investor Podcast with my good friend Kyle Stanley. Keep listening to conquer the world of investing.
Hey everyone, welcome into the Fearless Investor Podcast. We've got the Clubhouse King himself, TJ Tijani, on the show today. He is killing it on Clubhouse with short-term rentals, over 20,000 followers. The guy is just a super genuine dude. And he's one of those guys that I just think has an amazing story that a lot of people can connect with. But before we get to that, have you reviewed our podcast? Make sure that you please do give it that quick 5 stars, and a 1 to 2 sentence review really helps to get our message out. Now let's get to it with TJ Tijani here on the Fearless Investor Podcast. Hey, welcome into the show, guys. Before we get started here with TJ Tijani, I just want to ask you, can you really make money with Airbnb? Or is it just too good to be true? A lot of people say that, but I'm here to tell you it's the real deal. And you can actually do this without even owning a property. Pretty crazy, right? Well, when I learned this in 2019, in just under 18 months, I went from 0 to 25 properties. That's 0 to over $20,000 net after expenses per month. And guess what? You can too. All you have to do is go to our Airbnb Kickstart course, which is at fearlesskyle.com. And you're going to be able to learn how to master, automate, and scale this business without even owning a property. Get over there and get started in Airbnb. Start conquering the world of Airbnb. And with that, we have a fellow rentalpreneur over here, TJ Tijani, who is definitely conquering the world of not only Airbnb, but Clubhouse. Holy cow. He's like the biggest short-term rentals guy on Clubhouse. Just hit the 20,000K follower mark. By the time this airs, you're probably going to be at like 25 or 30,000. TJ, man, thanks for jumping on the show.
Oh, no worries. Thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it. It's an honor, man. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, hey, coming out of Houston, Texas, and we're going to get all into your story here in a second. But what is your most interesting either real estate or Airbnb related story?
Oh, man. I'll tell you what. I remember May of 2018. I was, one of my units was almost 100% booked. I had one more day to be 100% booked. And I had somebody that wanted to book my unit, and he wanted to book it for that last day. He said, hey, I'm coming in from Galveston. I just need to stay a night. And for me, I just wanted to get that day filled so I can claim, I'm 100% occupancy.
Yeah.
He came in, literally the concierge there at the property contacted me and said, hey, something's going on at your unit. You need to get over here. And so I look at my camera and I realize that it is darkened. I'm like, is my camera broken? But you can still see that it's recording, that it's still live. So I realized quickly that, oh, wow, they put a sock in front of the camera. I said, okay, it's time to go. So this is like 12:30 in the morning. And I went straight over there. It was about 40 people in that apartment throwing a party. My gosh. So I had to get security involved. They had to kick everybody out. That was such a lesson learned. I was still kind of in the earlier stages of my journey. So for me, first of all, you learned that not all money is good money, for one. And now that I got even more educated, I realized that 100% occupancy actually means that you left money on the table. Yep. So it's not necessarily a good thing, depending, right? But then I did not screen this guest whatsoever. I did not question. I just booked them because I wanted to get that spot filled. Listen, the biggest lesson, I learned a lot from that one lesson. And sometimes that's what it takes, right, to learn. But listen, everything that I learned, I implemented. And yeah, we're not having that anymore. So that was probably one of my most interesting stories.
Hey, you know what? A lesson learned is a lesson learned. But just like Warren Buffett says, it's best to learn from mistakes. They just don't have to be your own mistakes.
Very true. Very true.
All right, TJ. So you've got a really cool story. Let's just start from the beginning. You weren't even born in the U.S. You came to the U.S. Take us back to before you even got started in your professional career.
Yeah, man. For me, born in Nigeria. Nigeria's home. I came here when I was 8 years old, and with my 4 siblings. My mom raised us. She's amazing as she sounds. Yes. And I was the first in my family to go to school, go to college, and graduate, and that wasn't necessarily easy. I kind of had to work my way through school, but for me, I've always had that entrepreneurship bug, but I never actually realized it because while I was in college, again, I had to kind of pay my own way through school. I worked at Foot Action selling shoes. And so, but what I also did was I realized that they would have these crazy sales on apparel, right? Like Jordan and Nike apparel, especially like Jordan shorts. Back then, like the Jordan shorts were in like everything. So they would have like this crazy deal, 60% off. Then I'll tack on my additional employee discount, which is like 35% off. I'll be buying these shorts for like $5, right? They retail for $60. So I would get as much. I would just clean the entire store. I would get as much as I could. And I would just walk into dorm rooms on campus. And I went to University of Houston, go Cougs, baby. I went to University of Houston. So I would walk into the dorm rooms with just 2 big bags. And I would just be selling the Jordan shorts. And I was selling for 25, but I bought them for 5. They retail for 60. I'll sell them for 25. And so I did that. Awesome. I did that at like probably 3 or 4 times a month, right? And I would clean up. Like I would clean up.
You were wholesaling without even knowing what wholesaling was.
I didn't even realize I was wholesaling. So me coming graduated, right? I graduated, read Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? One of my frat brothers said, hey, you should read this book. You kind of like this. It seems like you like the entrepreneurship thing. You're such a hustler because he's been knowing me throughout my college career. And so I read this book and I said, well, I want to own some assets. So I got into buy and hold real estate investing because I wanted to own real estate. So I got into a local real estate group that had that same focus within their strategy, which is buy and hold. And I got locked in with them. And so then I started buying and holding real estate on the side, right? I graduated working for an oil and gas company, which was great. I didn't hate my job. It just required a lot of my time. I was traveling quite a bit. I was out of town all the time. About 65% of the year, I was working offshore, working on the rigs, working as a subsea installations engineer. But when I got home, whenever I was home on my free time, I would always focus on real estate. Okay. And so I would buy properties on the side. And so then I got educated on how to wholesale. So when I started getting educated out of wholesale, I said, oh, I've been doing this. I've been doing this. So
you already knew the concept.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
So that's how I really got my wits about me within the real estate space. And I still love doing buy and hold. I got really good at doing the BRRRR strategy where we are buying these properties distressed, ugly, making them beautiful and pretty, and then we're refinancing, pulling our cash back out, and we're doing it all over again. Then once the market kind of shifted within the oil and gas space, came 2016. Man. So when the price of oil is $100, everybody's happy. Everybody's eating. Yeah. As a consumer, the price of gas is a little high, but that's when the economy is good to the oil and gas space. So when it dropped, man, they pretty much didn't have any more projects for me. When I got done with serving my portfolio, which was the ExxonMobil portfolio, they tried to move me around to a different role. So it was just like, you know what? I went ahead and just took the severance package. And because the position they wanted me to be in would have required half my salary, but more time in the office. So I was like, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and bet on myself. At the time, I had about 5 rental properties. My goal was to get 10 rentals before I left my full-time job. So it was cut short. But I still decided to bet on myself. And I decided to go on into this real estate thing. I wasn't necessarily looking to do short-term rentals. I just came across a video while I was doing market research on how to generate leads. And so I came across a video on short-term rentals. I said, I'm rehabbing 2 houses right now. Let me try this strategy on one of these houses. And so after I remodeled this house, I decided to furnish it instead of put a long-term tenant in it. And I listed it. We got 2 bookings the very next day. And when I did the math, I realized that I would be able to at least 3x that income, even at like 50% occupancy. I was like, okay, let me sink my teeth into the strategy. That's when I really got into the short-term rental game. And it's been life-changing for me ever since. Then I got educated on rental arbitrage. And I said, oh, wow, I don't have to own these either. I ain't got to own them. So for me, what I like to do now is I love wealth building within the short-term rental space. I love the fact that you don't have to own. You can cash flow without ownership. But I love that, okay, I can still own it and still cash flow nicely with these properties. So, and my best performing properties are the ones that I own, but I still love rental arbitrage because I'm able to scale quickly and still earn really good cash flow doing it. So while I'm rehabbing, right, while I'm doing my remodels and I'm remodeling these properties, my focus has been 2 to 4 units. Buying 2 to 4 units, remodeling them, and then making them full-time short-term rentals in highly gentrified areas here in Houston, Texas. And that's been my focus. And so while I do that, I'm picking up rental arbitrage properties while doing the rehab process. That's how I was able to scale my business. And it's been a heck of a journey ever since. And I think the best thing is being able to show other people how to do the same thing. So with me, the different dynamic with me is like, we're really, really good at rental arbitrage, right? We're really good at getting that yes from landlords to execute that arbitrage strategy. But I love the wealth building component as well. And so I like to do both, and there's definitely some synergy there, and it's been life changing. And I haven't wholesaled a deal since I really got into the space. So that's pretty much it for me.
And I know if Julie George is going to be watching this, she's going to say, I know exactly why you're good at arbitrage, because you got the voice and the look. She
would say that 100%.
She would.
It's great. I never even realized that my voice had any kind of, I've always had a passion to teach. I've always teach. I was really, really good at math in college. And I taught math in college. That was the second job that I had. I was a math. I was a TA, and I had my own classroom, and I was teaching my peers doing hosting review sessions during midterms, teaching the calculus 1, college algebra and business calculus. And so I always kind of had a passion to teach, but I never kind of knew that, but I never want to be a teacher. I never want to be a teacher.
Yeah.
But what's great now is that I get to do what I like in real estate, what I really enjoy within real estate, but still show people and teach it at a pretty nice level. So
you get to teach because you want to, not because it's paying the bills.
Exactly.
Yep.
I like that.
That's awesome. Well, hey, listen, there's so many good things that you just said there, and I'm so excited to have this conversation because you and I think very similarly. Our stories are very similar. I started burning my first property and said, why am I going to be okay with just $300 or $400 of cash flow? I could Airbnb this. And even my mentor was like, yeah, but that's risky. And I was like, I don't think it is. Am I missing something here? And so, yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I guess one of my questions that I think the audience might be asking right now is, well, you just said that you make the most money with the ones that you own. So why wouldn't you go try to own more rather than doing rental arbitrage? What's your answer for that?
Well, I'm looking to own as much as I can, but I can't take away from rental arbitrage because there are pros and cons to doing both. I just think the pros of owning is a little bit more beneficial, right? But I love arbitrage. I love arbitrage because I can scale the business a lot quicker. For those who really want to own all of their short-term rentals, I think that's amazing. That's great. That's still a goal. I think to each his own in that sense. It just depends on what your goals are. For me, I have certain goals that I know that rental arbitrage will allow me to get there a lot faster, right? So I love the rental arbitrage component because it's control without ownership. You can still, if you tell me 8 years ago, hey, see that house over there? I make $3,000 a month from that house and I don't even own it. I'll look at you like you're crazy. What are you talking about? So the short-term rental industry now, especially with the kind of global movement Airbnb has allowed that to be a possibility. Yeah. So I think it's kind of crazy not to take advantage of that. And I don't have to, and understand. For me, when I buy real estate, I like to consider it buying it with your time, not so much your money, especially with the strategy that I do. With the BRRRR strategy, with executing it the right way, you got to know your numbers up front. You can pull, even if you put cash in the game, you can pull that cash back out and do it all over again. But it takes time. From the moment that I purchase that property to the moment it starts to cash flow, it's time, but it's not so much money, but it takes months, it takes time. Yes. So if that's the case, to each his own, that's perfectly fine. But in the meantime, why not add more cash flow to my portfolio via rental arbitrage where I can get into these properties? I can take down a lease and have it furnished within a week and I'm listed right then and there. So that's why I like to do both. And I think it's a great strategy.
That's so good. So, we've done episodes on BRRRR strategy. If you guys, don't know what BRRRR is, essentially buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. Yep. And that is exactly how we scale our actual buy and hold business. If you want to go learn more about that, all you have to do is literally just Google search BRRRR or search on this podcast and YouTube channel BRRRR, and you'll find the details of that. But what I want to really ask you, TJ, is let's step back for a second and assume that someone is sitting here and they don't even understand what arbitrage is. You're saying it's more scalable. I want them to be able to put their hands on that. How is it more scalable than actually owning a property?
Well, rental arbitrage, when you look at rental arbitrage, you're buying something long-term and you're reselling it short-term. But what you're really buying is time. Like you're buying 12 months or 24 months, but you're selling it daily. Now, the reason why you're able to do that is the amount of value that you're able to add. I like to use this water bottle analogy when it comes to the short-term rental space. If you were to go buy a bottle of water at Walmart, you probably spend $4 on that case of water, 32-pack, 24-pack, whatever the case may be. But if you were to stop by a gas station and you pick up one bottle of water out of that refrigerator, it's going to cost you about $1.50. Why is that one bottle of water $1.50? Well, because it's already turnkey. It's ready to go. You don't have to unpackage it. You don't have to take it out the package, leave it in the refrigerator, let it chill, let it cool. it's ready to go. All that's already done for you. That's why they're able to charge more for it. You can grab it, you can go be on your merry way and enjoy it, consume it right away. That's the same thing. That's why we're able to charge a nightly rate. And that's why we're able to charge so much more on a nightly basis, because in the short-term rental space, we're providing such a turnkey experience, everything that they already need, couching, furnishing, pots and pans, linens, towels, everything that they need. They come enjoy the space. We pack and play depending on who you're serving, high chairs, like they don't have to travel with that stuff. Like you're providing an experience that people are more than willing to pay for because it's convenient, right? So and when you look at rental arbitrage, you're able to rent something, you're able to buy time long term and sell it short term because of the way of the value that you add to the space, and you're able to provide a turnkey experience for guests. That's pretty much the rental arbitrage strategy.
Not only that, which by the way, that's an amazing way to talk about it. So I'm definitely going to steal that from you if you want me to.
That's fine.
I'll say a bottle of Coke instead of water just to make it cool. But I mean, not just that, man, but you think about these burst strategy properties, you buy the property, you got to wait for it to close, and you got to wait for the rehab. And suddenly, it's taking 4 months for you to actually have your first guest show up. You go get an arbitrage, you could be welcoming in your first guest in as quick as a week.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah. So you're buying time quicker, I think is the key there too. And that's why I think it's so scalable and cheaper, because if you're looking at just, I mean, a lot of people, by all means, BRRRR is the best way to do it. But a lot of people are going to hear this and be like, I'm not going to wait for a BRRRR. I'm going to go buy a property right now. Well, go buy one at 20% down and call it a $300,000 property.
Yep.
You're going to be 10 times more invested than I am in a rental arbitrage property.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, okay. With that being said, one of the things I really like about your story is that you just got into action and you learned the new strategy until you found the one that was like, okay, this is it. And I have conversations with people, I'm sure you do too, all day long, that are just in this mind block of like, well, should I do Airbnb? Should I do BRRRR? Should I do wholesaling? Should I do flipping? And they never get started. Yeah. And because of that, they never get that experience to even know what to go to next. Yep. So what have you always had, that just like get into action mentality? Have you had to force yourself into action when you were scared? Kind of talk about that mindset a little bit.
Man, and that's a really good question, because at first, naturally, that engineering mindset is too much into the analysis, right? I get into the weeds of the numbers, and I'm telling you, YouTube. I was team YouTube University. I was team Google. I was studying. It took me about a year of consistent just researching to actually spring into action. But when I tell you that when I did my first deal, when I rehabbed my first property, what I learned from that entire process far surpassed all the reading that I did. So it took me just, hey, take action. When I took action, that's when things started changing. But I was so nervous because, to me, people in my family, growing up, own properties, like, stuff like that don't happen. So when it was just thinking about owning a house, owning a building, it's like, man, that seems like a lot, but I knew I wanted to do it. I just needed to figure out how to get into the game. But I realized the best way to get into the game is just to get started. I think the biggest thing that I learned from that entire process was that you don't have to know everything. You don't have to know everything to get started. You just have to know enough to get started. And then a lot of things, as you take an action, will kind of unfold in the process, and then you learn and you'll adapt and you learn. But I instead of trying to get it perfect, I realized that there is no perfect time to really get in. Just get in, know enough to get in, and it's almost like you're in this dark room, and there's a staircase, but you can't see the entire stairs. There's only one step you can see. But in order for you to get to the top, you got to take that one step. You're not going to see the second step until you take that one step. Then you take the next step. So that's really how it is. And I realized and I learned that, man, without action, I would have been still stuck there in analysis paralysis. And so, yeah, that's pretty much, yeah.
Well, it's kind of like, too, go back to when you were 5, 6, 7 years old, and, you're knowing that you want to go play a sport. Mom and dad want you to play a sport, but they don't know which one. So you try soccer, you try pee-wee football, you try t-ball, And then you get to that point, you're like, I don't want to play soccer anymore. That's boring to me. And baseball is cool, but it's too slow for me. So football, like that's my thing. And you have to go, but you have to try it first. You have to give it a shot in order to really know what do you like, what do you don't like. So I love that, man, especially the thinking about the staircase. Just got to take that first step. You don't know where it's going to lead.
Exactly.
You have no idea what's at the top there, but just go for it. But
Yep.
I think one of the things there is you do have the end goal in mind. It might not be what the exit strategy is, but you have that lifestyle and that desire of what you want your life to look like at the top.
Man, and you know what's crazy? When I got into this game, the short-term rental game, and I was like, man, but I'm a wholesaler. Like, no, but I want to do these creative deals. I want to do wholesaling, and I literally had to give myself permission to go all in. Like I had to give myself permission to make that pivot and to go all into the short-term rental space. And when I decided to do that, that's when things really got life-changing, because I realized that with me doing everything, and there's nothing wrong with multiple strategies, 100%. I think maybe some people might work differently. For me, I found the most success if I can be laser focused on one or two things and then master it, and then branch out and start doing other things, build a system, build infrastructure to master that, and then start doing other things. And that's when things got really life changing for me, because when I was trying to do everything, man, I was going nowhere for me. And that's just for me though. It may be different from other people, because I've heard different stories and some people work differently, but that just won't work for me.
All right. You gave me a good one. So now I'm going to give you a good one. So what you just said there is exactly what I teach. It's an acronym called MAS or MOS, Master, Automate, Scale. And then you move on to the next thing. Like when that thing is, when you went from, 15 hours of working on Airbnb per week, now it's down to 2 hours, and now it's down to 0 and it's growing. That's when
that's when
the next thing.
I like that.
Yeah. So where is your business at today? Let's talk about that. How many rentals do you have? What does life look like today for you? Maybe even compared to 4 or 5 years ago when you were just getting started.
Oh man. So for me right now, we're launching unit 25 and 26 here shortly. And these fall under the landlord column, because it's a duplex that I just got done remodeling. And life is different. I think for me, even though I was making 6 figures as an engineer out of college, most money I've ever made in my life at the time, like even for a lot of people in my family too, to be honest. But when I left that position, my goal was to bring in enough income, because my goal shifted, right? So I was okay doing wholesaling and all that, but once I left that position, my mindset switched to like cash flow. It's like, okay, I need cash flow. So that's another thing that made the short-term rental strategy even more intriguing for me. So, but my goal at the time was to make as much money as I did within my job as an engineer, within my engineering role. I wanted to match that income. I said, man, I want to get back to that income. I want to get back to that lifestyle. And I was able to do that in under a year. So with the short-term rental game. So it's been pretty life-changing experience. I think for me now, what I did not anticipate was to, I decided that I want to be a subject matter expert in this game. I decided that when people talk about short-term rentals, especially in the Houston area, my name needs to be in that conversation. That's one thing I love about Clubhouse, because now it's allowed me to really rub shoulders and really build relationships with a lot of other people in multiple different markets. And so it's been a heck of an experience. And now, oh man, I mean, the stuff that's lined up for me, the stuff that's coming up, the opportunities that's came across my way just this year alone has been pretty life-changing. And it's all due to just staying the course, staying in the game, staying in my lane, and being laser focused. And that's been amazing. This has been amazing. I think the most rewarding thing now is I get to show other people how to do the same thing and do it very well. I get to help people get to the 6-figure bag within the short-term rental space and change their income trajectory for themselves and their families. That it was like, when I think about just my role, what I was doing working as an engineer, I never even thought that I'll be able to do something like that. I would be doing something like this. But it's crazy how God works. It's crazy how time, what time can do. And as time goes, when you stay in your lane and you laser focus, it's been pretty life-changing experience for me so far in this game.
Hey, and that's great, man. And congratulations for getting to where you're at now.
Thank you.
You have this desire and really passion for teaching, and it's showing right now on Clubhouse. Did you get on Clubhouse thinking you were going to get to over 20,000 followers, or what was the goal?
No way, man. It's crazy. I've been on Instagram since 2010, 2009, something like that. And December, I think I was like 6,800 followers in December. So it took me like 10 years just to get that.
Yeah.
So then I get on Clubhouse, and I'm at like 20,000. It's not even been like 4 months. Like, what's going on? No, I did not expect it. A good friend of mine, Byron, he told me, say, man, you should get on Clubhouse, man. You'll like it. I said, what's Clubhouse, man? No, I'm good, man. I'm good on that.
Yeah.
And so then he just sends me an invite. He just sends it to me. I said, all right, let me tap in, man. Let me tap in. I start seeing people post it, and I start seeing people that I respect just in entrepreneurship. Right. They post. I'm like, wow, okay, so he's on Clubhouse too. He's on Clubhouse. So I was like, all right, let me check this Clubhouse thing. Byron sends me an invitation. I tap in, and so I just started getting in the rooms, and people were like, oh, what's going on? What do you do? And I was, well, this is what I do. Oh, wow. Well, how do you do that? Well, this is how you do it. Oh, wow. Okay. So then, but I realized what really got me a lot of traction. I decided to just go all in when I saw the opportunity in Clubhouse. I started talking to a lot of people. They said, look, you know, this is going to change the landscape for a lot of things. And it's good to really start right now is the time to really take advantage and build a following. So I just started saying, all right, I want to do my own room. And I applied for my own room. It was going to get approved. It got approved. So I started hosting, before it got approved, I was hosting my weekly rooms on short-term rentals. And I was just doing that. First two I did, it was just by myself. Then I started linking up, and I tapped into one of other short-term rentals rooms. And I said, well, I host a room too. If you guys want to be joining with me. And they said, oh yeah, let's do it all together. So then the room started growing. And I think one of the biggest moments that really created a shift in the following was when I hosted a room on short-term rentals. And a good friend of mine out of Atlanta, Matty J, he tapped into the room, and then Cody Sperber tapped into the room, and so then the room got up to like 1,000 people.
Holy cow!
It got to 1,000 people, and so that was like kind of crazy, and it was a phenomenal room. We had a great time, and then later on, I got pinged into other rooms with Grant Cardone in it and other high levels, super high elite people in the real estate game. And then Clever Investor pulls me up, and he just started asking me questions. So I was just answering them. So people were like, okay, he knows the stuff about this short-term rental game. And so people started following me, started building it that way. And I think one of the best things I started doing is I get tapped into different rooms that really aren't about short-term rentals. I just tap into different real estate rooms, or even just different rooms of my entrepreneurship period. And I just add value, right? I just add value. And sometimes I add value outside of short-term rentals. We just talk about life stuff, and we talk about just business in general. And I'm not even talking about real estate. And I just add value, just being myself. And I think one thing I like about Clubhouse is people can tell when you're really authentic. People can tell when you're really trying to help people. And so I would just add value in different rooms. And people read my bio, they say, oh man, he's in real estate. And man, I was kind of interested in Airbnb. And so people start following everything. They look at my Instagram. I said, man, he put out some content about Airbnb on Instagram too. Man, this dude's a good follow. And so then it just started growing and growing. And sometimes I wake up and I have like 200 more followers than I did yesterday. And I, not necessarily because I was on Clubhouse, but I realized that sometimes my name gets spoken about when I'm not even in the room.
Wow.
So
that's good.
So when I learned that was happening too, so I'm like, okay, well, I'm running with this thing. So Clubhouse has been so life-changing. It's gotten my biggest speaking gig. It's coming up. The biggest speaking gig I've ever had is coming up. I'm super excited for it, and it's allowed me to really build some good relationships. And when Grant Cardone started following me, that's when I knew I did something right.
There you go. That's that's where it's at. So I mean, it's no surprise to me though, because like you said, people can see if you're genuine or not, and you're definitely a genuine dude. You're easy to relate to, and you've just got a great story. And I thank you for sharing that story today, TJ. So obviously, people can follow you on Clubhouse. They can follow you on Instagram. What are your handles there?
Man, listen, I keep it simple. It's the same handle on both. At TJ Tijani is just my name. Clubhouse at TJ Tijani. That's Tijani. And that's pretty much it. It's super simple. Tap in with me, and and come get these gems, come get these games. We got some amazing rooms lined up for the future, and so yeah.
Bro, I think you're gonna be at Rentalpreneur pretty soon.
That's
saying. Just saying. All right. Well, TJ, any last words for audience before we log off?
No, I mean, just go. We talked a lot about, a few things just in terms of intentionality, right? But I think part of the biggest battle that you'll face is really up here, right? Because, it's the mindset is what's going to keep you in the game. Because I don't recommend being somebody who, who's a spectator. You know what spectators do? Spectators say, "Oh, I want to. Oh, e-commerce. You want to sell some? I want to do that. I want to do that." They realize that, man, it's not as easy as I thought. Okay, I'm gonna do this wholesaling thing. Oh man, wholesaling is easy in theory, but they get into it like, damn, that's not easy either. Oh, I want to do Airbnb. Oh man, I realized, I got to build infrastructure. I got to handle this and security issues. Dang, that's not easy either. Listen, stay in the game and get to that point of attrition, right? It's always every successful entrepreneur gets to that point of attrition, and the ones that get past it, that fail big, but are able to stay in the game, stay in the course, and push past it, those are the ones who see the most success. So listen, y'all, stay in the game, but more importantly, just get started, get going, and take action. My theme for this year is execution. We learned a lot. Everybody, we went through it last year. Everybody learned a lot of things last year. But now it's time to put those things in motion. Now it's time to execute. This year is going to be life-changing, and I think it'll be life-changing for anybody who's willing to put in the work. So let's get to it, y'all.
I love it. Hey, if it was easy, everyone would do it.
Absolutely.
So, TJ, thank you so much for jumping on today, helping our audience to conquer the world of investing and Airbnb, and then probably Clubhouse too.
Yeah, most definitely. Thank you so much. It's been an honor, man. Had a lot of fun. Thank you, y'all.
All right, show notes for this one are fearlesskyle.com/TJ Tijani. That's TJ, Tijani, TJ Tijani. All right, so hopefully you just see TJ is just that guy. He got into action. He was doing wholesaling before he even knew what wholesaling was. That's the crazy thing. Like I look back on my life and I see all the ways of which I was doing entrepreneur things before I even knew what an entrepreneur was. But that's exactly, if you haven't done those things, that's okay though. Like you can teach yourself how to start doing this. And all it takes is just a mindset shift. When you can start looking at the world a little bit differently, looking at opportunities differently, you'll have that mindset shift and you'll realize that you can absolutely, just because you didn't wholesale Jordan shorts in college or do things, in elementary school, like lemonade stands, that doesn't mean you can't start thinking that way now, today. And that's what we're hoping to be able to do to help you get past that fear by just putting out content on a bi-weekly basis here on the Fearless Investor Podcast, coming to you every Tuesday and Thursday. And just hope that you'll continue to listen in, to conquer the world of investing and take action. Have a good one.